You and call to order the July 25th Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. And before we get started, I would like to remind us of our guiding principles, which are we raising the bar? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building connections with outside partners? And is the decision-making process this evening positively impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion? Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The city flag has been found, but it hasn't gotten back to us yet.
It's been found.
We took it to the Association of Washington Cities Conference for the Parade of Flags. And our most junior council member's job was to bring it back, and he'd left it behind. So I'm not going to mention names.
And I won't mention the fact that it wasn't told to me that I needed to bring that flag back either.
Anyway, moving on. We have a published agenda this evening. I will let you know that our contract lobbyist Josh Weiss is ill this evening, and so he won't be giving his presentation. We're going to try to bring him back in 2 weeks. Other than that, are there any amendments to this evening's agenda? If there aren't, is there a motion to approve? Councilmember Clausen.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as published.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen, a second by Councilmember Terneri to approve the agenda as presented this evening. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for this evening. We are to our first citizen comment period, which is for anything on this evening's agenda. We have a second citizen comment period at the end of the meeting for any item. Is there anyone wishing to address the City Council this evening for an item on the agenda? And is there anyone online? If there is, then please use the raise your hand feature and the clerk will bring you into the meeting. No one online and no one is rushing the microphone. It must be here for other exciting things. All right, I will close the first citizen comment period. We are to our consent agenda. Is it Councilmember Pichardi?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Pichardi, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli to approve the consent agenda as it was presented this evening. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None. The consent agenda has been approved. We have two presentations. The first is probably the best. It's a police commissioning ceremony. Chief Brown.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members. And we appreciate you again allowing us the time to conduct a formal commissioning ceremony with our two newest peace officers. It remains important to us that they take their oaths publicly to demonstrate our commitment to this community and the tenets of our profession. So if you two would like to come up, please. So Officer Sarah Duke began her law enforcement career in 2013 when she was hired by the Georgetown Police Department in Kentucky. She was promoted to sergeant in 2018. But Officer Duke is returning to the Kitsap Peninsula after being away for some time. She is a proud Trojan alumnus of Olympic High School and was raised in the Silverdale area. She holds an associate's degree in individual professional studies with a concentration in public safety. And with her return to the Pacific Northwest, Officer Duke is looking forward to taking advantage of the hiking and biking trails and being closer to her family. And tonight, her badge will be presented by her mother, Michelle. Officer Mike Muley comes to us from the Poulsbo Police Department, where he has served since 2018. A native Californian, Officer Muley came to the Pacific Northwest when he was stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord as a military police officer for the United States Army. And in 2016, he was hired into civilian law enforcement with the Port Scotland Police Department. And in his spare time, he's a defenseman for the Bremerton Bulldogs, and his daughter Adelaide will be pinning his badge on this evening. It's duly important that I share with everyone our law enforcement code of ethics. We do this at each commissioning ceremony to publicly share our code and reinforce its relevance and importance to both our officers and our community members. So as a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve the community, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, to respect the constitutional rights of all, to liberty, equality, and justice. I will keep my private life unsullied as an example to all, and will behave in a manner which does not bring discredit to me or my agency. I will maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule, develop self-restraint, and be constantly mindful of the welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed in both my personal and official life, I will be exemplary in obeying the law of the land and the regulations of my department. Whatever I see or hear of a confidential nature, or that is confided in me in my official capacity, will be kept ever secret unless revelation is necessary in the performance of my duty. I will never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudices, political beliefs, aspirations, animosities, or friendships to influence my decision. With no compromise for crime and with relentless prosecution of criminals, I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities. I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of the police service. I will never engage in acts of bribery, nor will I condone such acts by other police officers. I will cooperate with all legally authorized agencies and their representatives in pursuit of justice. For I know that I alone am responsible for my own standard of professional performance, and will take every opportunity to enhance and improve my level of knowledge and competence. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself to my chosen profession, law enforcement. So for the oaths of office, we'll step out here, and I promise I'll share this a little bit so you know. Okay, go ahead and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Mike Stewart,
Having been duly appointed
having been duly appointed
as a police officer for the city of Port Orchard, Washington,
as a police officer for the city of Port Orchard, Washington,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of my appointment
perform the duties of my appointment
as prescribed by law
as prescribed by law
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and that I will support and enforce
that I will support and enforce
the ordinances of the city of Port Orchard,
the ordinances of the city of Port Orchard,
the laws and constitution of the state of Washington,
the laws of the Constitution of the state of Washington,
and the Constitution of the United States of America.
and the Constitution of the United States of America.
Well done. Stab him on the Again, thank you for your time. If they want to come up and just introduce themselves real briefly to council, that would be greatly appreciated. And then we will retire. We have a small reception downstairs.
Welcome.
And thank you. Congratulations, welcome, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief. All right, we're going to postpone our, we'll let our crowd disperse here for a moment.
The whole audience.
That is a pretty cool.
That's it's a cool moment to share.
Much more fun than hanging out, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's also sobering.
Would you?
yeah.
Right.
So, Jackie Brown, I'm sorry that that you now have to follow that with the stormwater comprehensive plan.
Especially that.
Okay. We just got some more time back in our lives, didn't we?
In 2 weeks.
All right.
All right. That next meeting is already getting kind of full, so just prepare you guys. We're going to postpone Josh. We could probably even postpone Josh till the first meeting in September. There's no urgency to that. Josh and I got together, talked about one, he was gonna give you a briefing of, a high-level briefing of the past session, which I think you guys, they continually briefed us, but, there was many bills and a lot of email and traffic related to that. And then talk at a high level about potential agenda items. And one, we're going to pursue, well, one, we'll continue to have the Sedgwick interchange on our legislative agenda until it gets fixed. But realistically, there was a transportation package passed a year ago, and they come about every 8 to 10 years. So probably not realistic, but if we don't keep it in the forefront, and allow everybody to forget about it, it won't ever happen. So it's important that we keep that on our agenda. As far as realistic funding things we're going to go after, we need almost $2 million still to fund the remainder of the street, raising the street. We've got some construction dollars. I know you guys authorized us to set aside the cash carry forward, or the majority of it, towards that project. Noah's not here to talk to exactly how much, but I think it was near $1 million. But we can use those dollars in many different ways if we were able to find another source of dollars. And there's some climate resiliency dollars. By calling it that versus a transportation project, all of a sudden we're in the running for some money. But if we called it a transportation project, it's very difficult to get funding. So that's, Josh thinks there's an opportunity there. We also, and then really the only last piece of the master plan project for us to fund is that Orchard Street Plaza. We want the road and the banks project need to finish at about the same time so that the bank's not standing 2 feet out of the ground in comparison to everything else when they open. And then we really want to go to bid. We have to go to bid with the community center, and the shoreline restoration is one. And we really want to have the plaza at the same time, but we don't have the funding for the plaza yet. We funded the design. I'm guessing $3 million for that plaza. And it's possible this insane building activity continues and we collect enough park impact fees. I hope it slows down actually a little bit myself, but so we need to find a funding source, and I'm working with Senator Murray's office on an opportunity there, and we're also talking with Josh for looking at RCO grants again, which would be Nick's operation, but those are capped at $500,000, so it's only a piece of that. So we've got some things we need to solve there. There was a handful of other things that escaped me at the moment that Josh was going to eloquently present to you. But if the agenda is too packed here in 2 weeks, then I'll probably kick Josh to September. John?
Yeah, and I appreciate we're talking about the state legislative package, but I wouldn't be too terribly quick to drop the transportation aspect of Bay Street off of that, because as we've all just seen, the Port of Bremerton just got $9 million of transportation dollars for a breakwater. And it was primarily because of the transit boats that come and go out of there. So there's a lot of federal dollars out there in the transportation arena. So I just bring that out.
Anyway, we're looking at all opportunities, but in particular, when I talked to Senator Murray's office, because I was talking to them about Bethel Phase 1, 2, because we might have a funding gap there too, and they just weren't excited about our transportation stuff, but they were really excited about the community center. So,
well, the other thing I would add is I just read today where the state is changing regulations that, and Nick, you probably know more about this, that in our long-range planning we have to address both climate change and emission reduction, essentially. So with the whole issue of sea level rising, climate change, Bay Street, I mean, there's a number of things that we need to make sure we're aware of.
Yeah, and Josh and Annika were right on this pot of dollars for climate resiliency, which is It checks, the Bay
I
Street
would
checks a
suggest,
box for that.
as you talk with Senator Murray's office, since you're talking federal level at that point, that you talk about the climate side of the Bay Street improvement. So, thank you.
All right, but yes,
So I think the bank was going to pull a permit when we were looking at code change effective end of July, or I can't remember when it was, but that got pushed back. Are they still planning on pulling a permit pretty soon?
Well, they already applied for the permit, so
They already did,
they've got a
okay.
vested application at this point in time.
Oh, good news.
as,
Okay,
as we do too for our community centers.
Okay,
Yep, we're rolling.
nice, thank you.
All right, we are not going to talk about stormwater either then. So no public hearings. Let's get to this business items. And I am really excited about the first one, was the adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Kitsap Regional Library for the Community Event Center. And this evening, I wasn't able to participate in the Transportation Committee because I was presenting to the Board of Trustees at the Kitsap Regional Library. And this evening, they unanimously approved this very agreement that you're about to consider. So, Ms. Archer, if you want to speak to this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, council members. I too am very excited to be presenting this to you this evening. This is the culmination of a large body of work that staff have undertaken over the past few months in conjunction with the legal counsel and staff at the library district. So as you know, the city and the Public Facilities District and the Regional Library have worked collaboratively to develop, design, and finance the construction and long-term operation of our future South Kitsap Community Event Center. Over the past few months, myself and other members of staff have worked diligently to prepare and negotiate an interlocal or a financing agreement to delineate the roles and responsibilities between the city and the library for the library's future occupation and use of a portion of your community event center and the joint financing of that building, that building's design and construction. This agreement will allocate certain responsibilities to each of the parties, including financial responsibilities and oversight responsibilities as it relates to change orders. The contributions committed to within the agreement include $4.8 million contribution by the library as an initial contribution, with additional contributions to reflect any additional change orders or modifications to the building that are set out in the agreement. The agreement contemplates additional terms as it relates to a lease agreement being entered into later in the process, but this is setting the framework for both the long-term occupation of the lower portion of the building by the library, a commitment from the library to be your anchor tenant, if you will, within that community event center and be a partner with you in that building. So the approval would be done by a resolution. So we would staff's recommendation is approval of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute this agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the agreement. And I know the mayor is also knowledgeable.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with KRL for the Community Event Center.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe, a second by Councilmember Diener. Questions? I think we've talked about this a lot. We've been talking about it. It's kind of way it was like a non-event at the library board. The item before this on their agenda was their the results of their the consultants' work related to their capital campaign that they're kicking off. They need to raise there's a state grant that they need to match dollar for dollar for around $2 million. So they need to raise, $2.8 million in the community, and they need to have about 1.4 of that raised by March, they believe, to be successful in that grant. So they're working in earnest, and the surveys and the preliminary the community is really, really excited about the community center, the new library, and what we're going to achieve downtown. So with that, any questions, comments? All right, you'll be voting on a resolution approving a contract with Kitsap Regional Library for the community center. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
One opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations, thank you. We are to item B, adoption of a resolution fixing a date for public hearing on a petition to vacate city right-of-way, a portion of an alley off of Taylor Street and a portion of Austin Avenue between Taylor and Smith Street, a portion of Sweeney Street off of Sydney Avenue, and most of the alley between Taylor Street and Division Street, and a portion of an alley off Klein Street between Sweeney Street, Taylor Street. Wow, there's a lot of streets involved in that. Is that you, Janine?
It is.
All right, you're not Miss Wallace, but go ahead.
All right, good evening. Petitioner Kitsap County submitted a petition to vacate city rights of way. These are 3 areas being requested to be vacated. They are as follows. A portion of an alley off of Taylor Street and a portion of Austin Avenue between Taylor Street and Smith Street, approximately 9,974 square feet. Portion of Sweeney Street off of Sydney Avenue and most of the alley between Taylor Street and Division Street, which is approximately 14,838 square feet. And a portion of an alley off of Klein Street between Sweeney Street and Taylor Street is approximately 1,498 square feet. The rights of ways and alleys total approximately 26,310 square feet. The clerk received a complete application conforming with the requirements of Port Arthur Municipal Code Chapter 12.08, including Section 12.08.010. The Public Works Director and Community Development Department Director support the vacation as the city has no current or future plans to open them. Chapter 35.79 RCW requires the city to adopt a resolution setting the date and time of a public hearing to hear and determine the petition to vacate the city's right-of-way. Staff is seeking direction from the council as to when they want to hold a public hearing to vacate the proposed city right-of-way. The proposed resolution would set the hearing in person and via Zoom for September 12th, 2023, which is at least 20 days from the date of this resolution if adopted tonight, July 25th, 2023. Upon adoption of this resolution, staff will post proper notices of the date and time of the hearing and provide notice to adjacent property owners. The recommendation is staff recommends the council adopt a resolution setting the date and time of hearing on the petition to vacate a portion of alleys and streets as described above. The hearing is to be held on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at the regular council meeting held at 6:30 p.m. and directing the proper posting of notices of the hearing.
Councilmember Cacciardi.
I move to adopt a resolution setting a public hearing for September 12th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. on a petition from Kitsap County to vacate a portion of alleys and streets as described.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Cacciardi, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli. This is actually vacating all these streets so that the county can build that first phase 0 of the county courthouse project and start building construction on the parking lots. All right, questions? Councilmember Clausen.
I just have a question for the attorney. I appreciate that our action here tonight is simply setting the public hearing, but if we have questions regarding the vacation, should that be held until we have or finish the public hearing?
Correct. The public hearing would be your opportunity to ask questions with regards to the process. If you have legal questions or, we are always available during, okay.
They're not legal questions, they're more just questions that
Yeah.
probably should hold until the public hearing.
This is not where you're sitting in a quasi-judicial posture, so you're not obligated to hold them to answer the
But we could reach out to staff and ask
Exactly.
our questions then prior to. So I just
Exactly, yeah.
clarifying that, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions or comments? All right, you'll be voting on a resolution to set a public hearing date related to streets and alleyways related to the county campus project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. I just wasn't going to read all those streets again. All right, we're to our last business item, adoption of a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with Salish Behavioral Health Administrative Services for coordinated use of funds from settlement of opioid litigation. Ms. Archer, this is you.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, before you this evening is an interlocal agreement for the use of the funds that you receive through the settlement of the multi-district litigation brought against the opioid pharmaceutical supply chain participants. You'll recall that you authorized the execution of the one one party, I believe it was referred to, one party memorandum of understanding as it relates to these litigation matters in 2022. You approved of a previous settlement prior to that. So the city has funds available to it to combat opioid addiction and provide opioid treatment through these settlements. And this city, as with many agencies, are finding it difficult to spend those funds without partnering with other agencies to utilize those funds in a collective, fruitful way. And so your mayor has identified a partnership in the form of an interlocal agreement with Salish Behavioral Health Administrative Services for administrative use of and implementation of those funds. The permitted uses that are incorporated into the terms of the agreement with Salish begin at page 138 of your packet, and they are lengthy. Salish Behavioral Health Administrative Services, and the mayor may be able to speak a bit more to that organization and what they do, but they are set up in a way that can facilitate the use of these funds for the purposes outlined in that agreement, opioid treatment and preventative methods of preventing opioid use in our community. And the terms of the interlocal agreement are consistent across all the partners. I understand Salish is partnering with a number of other agencies in the county for this exact purpose. The agreement confirms that the use of your funds will be within your city, and it is specific that it will be used within your city to combat the use and to provide treatment of opioid issues within your city. Of note, among the terms, the Salish Behavioral Health Administrative Services Organization Executive Board, which I believe is staffed by county, will serve as the governing board of the Opioid Abatement Council, which the Opioid Abatement Council is a component of your use of the settlement funds that you're required to establish. And they'll be responsible for implementation. You would be paying a 10% annual administrative fee out of your settlement funds for the operation and the utilization of their services for this purpose. And then all the remainder of your funds, again, will be funneled to them for the purposes allowed, but again, within your city. So the recommendation this evening is to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute this interlocal agreement with Salish Behavioral Health Administrative Services for opioid treatment and addiction issues.
Member Lucarelli.
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement with Salish Behavioral Health Administrative Services Organization.
Second it.
By Councilmember Lucarelli, and a second, I believe, by Councilmember Diener. When we received these funds, and which come in 7 installments of roughly $26,000, we don't have a human services division, and it would just be inefficient for us to try to use these funds in an appropriate manner if we were trying to run a program. So make perfect sense. This is who the county is contracting with, this organization, and so we're jumping on that bandwagon. As you heard, these funds have to be spent in our community in in a manner described in the agreement. So, questions or comments? All right, you'll be voting on a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with Salish Behavior Health Administrative Services for funds related to the opioid settlement. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that resolution passes. We don't have any discussion items. Let's get to our council committees. Economic Development, I don't believe you met, and your next meeting has yet to be determined. Utilities is meeting on August 8th. Did you meet last week? No? Finance Committee is not scheduled to meet. And I don't know that you'll meet in August either, unless we have something pressing that comes up, we may schedule a meeting,
But I was assuming, yes.
yeah, the next big item is we want to get some of these projects underway and make sure that the bonding that we're gonna do is just City Hall, which it's looking that way. Transportation Committee, you met tonight.
Yes, we did meet before this meeting, and we had a few items. First, we had a presentation about Bethel Phase 1. The update, this is the phase between Salmonberry and Blueberry, and they will be presenting some alternatives at our August 8th meeting for council input. We learned about some of the challenges with the Salmonberry roundabout. For example, to the west, there is a culvert in the southwest corner, and that usually drains to the northwest corner, so one of the options will be trying to avoid that entire leg of Salmonberry. Let's see what else.
Saves about $1.5 million in a year.
Other considerations
That's
are if it's going to be a single lane or a multi-lane, and how much right-of-way we might want to acquire. And they seem to suggest that the single lane is actually a little safer. Let's see, we had a transportation improvement plan update, and that will be coming to council in September, October. It was basically updating some of the items on that. And then they mentioned the new battery-powered radar feedback signs that they'll be acquiring. I believe these are the ones that council members Trenari and Clausen heard about at the AWC.
So we've got those as a mid-year review item. They're about $4,500 a piece, but the nice thing about they're not just the signs, they also have captures data and then on all of the traffic traveling that roadway. So it'll help us in many of these cases where people are asking us to change the speed limit or there's excessive speeding. We'll have data to support our decision-making process, so we won't have to hire traffic engineers to compile that data for us. These signs will do that. And they also have a feature that when someone's speeding, not only is it going to flash, but when it gets to them, it has a bright white flash, like it possibly took a photo.
Doesn't take long to catch on to that.
I know, but it will get your attention.
Why can't it just spray them with paint? Okay, we were told that there is a street lighting proposal on Goldenrod Street to add 6 lights. Apparently there were collisions on Goldenrod involving injuries and possible litigation. The bill for that is about $2,700, so the committee, basically Mark and I, felt that it was a wise idea to go forward with implementing these lights. Chris also suggested that in addition to adding the 6 lights on Goldenrod, lights be added to Sydney north of Goldenrod to Tremont. And that would be 8 more lights, so he's estimating that wouldn't be that much more. The question for us is how soon do we believe these should be implemented and what kind of outreach we believe there should be, if any.
Well, whenever we get the contract, it will come before you guys from Puget Sound Energy. The biggest delay is going to be Puget Sound Energy and how quickly they can get the work done, because it's typically 6 months or a year at times to get PSE to come out and do any work. Councilmember Clausen?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the issue of the roundabouts and the issue of 2-lane versus 1 lane. And, you know, we have 4-lane roundabouts, if you will, on Tremont. And other than the experience that we had at South Kitsap Boulevard, for the most part, they all seem to be working well, even though there's 2 lanes, you know, for the, shall we say, westbound travel on Tremont going towards Highway 16. You've got 2 lanes that successfully go around that. And I would hope that we would look to the future. We might build for 2 lanes, stripe for 1 lane if that's an issue, but changing paint, we can expand to the expanding traffic demand. So
that's definitely going to be discussed when they bring it to us, because what they were considering is, do we want to make it multi-lane just in phase 1 or the entire, all phases of Bethel? Because currently we're only talking about phase 1, so they're wondering how that would affect the other phases. And would it make sense if one segment is 2 multi-lanes and the rest are not? So that's a further discussion that will come back.
While I wasn't at the meeting, I do have some insight on this. So you guys will see all this. The rest of the full council is going to see this at our next council meeting, as well as from the engineers why they're recommending the single lane, and the data shows that will get us 20 years into the future. It will be, we only have $10 million coming in from this 1/10 measure. And it still probably won't be enough for a 2-lane road, a complete street, and the 2 roundabouts. And so that's part of why the discussion was a 3-legged roundabout, which you guys will see the reasons why. And then we would need to do improvements on Ramsey between Salmonberry and Blueberry, because we're going to route everybody that lives in those homes back there over to Blueberry. But our next meeting is really informational to you and starting a public outreach process to hear from the community what they think, about the idea of the 3-legged versus the 4-legged roundabout. Of course, we would prefer to have the 4-legged, but there is a wetland there. It will be quite a bit more expensive, $1.5 million actually. So
I would just share of I don't want to call it an accidental, unintended decision that was made years ago when we were building the bridge across Blackjack Creek on Tremont, and that was originally designed to be a 2-lane bridge. And it was only during construction when the contractor, bless their hearts, came to us and said we could make that a 4-lane bridge for just a little bit more money. And that was the unintended decision that we made, was let's make it a 4-lane bridge, knowing that it didn't need to be a 4-lane. I'm sure glad we've made that decision today.
I hear you.
No,
We're
I
just trying to
wanted
live within the means we have and deliver on a project as quick as we can.
There are lots of options for add-ons and the prices. Finally, a council member brought up just asking about what's going on with the roundabout at Bay Street and Beach. And we were informed that this is not a city project. And
Correct.
so the city can't inform people about it since it's not a city project,
We
even though
have-
everyone is asking the city about it.
Fred, we have been informing. We've put multiple notices
Well,
out.
and that's good, but people are asking like what construction is going on and we don't know.
Certainly we do. We've put multiple notices out.
Well, we're not doing the construction audit is my point.
That is an accurate
It's
statement.
another agency, so we were told to refer people to DOT, who we feel has not communicated as well as they could have.
That's a DOT project?
Yes.
We should refer it to DOT. Do you know anybody, Fred, that we could refer it to?
Yes, wearing my city hat, I'd say
Page your
yes.
disclaimer, yes.
Well, no, I think we.
All right. That was and next is Chimes and Lights. Do you have anything to update us on?
Yes, actually, we've been informed that there may be a number of obstacles during the Festival of Chimes and Lights. One being the potential closure of the police parking lot, which is we've utilized in the past for refreshments and gathering. Another is the potential for Marina Pump Station construction may be staged and ready to go, or we may be moving forward with that. So there could be complications with that parking area. And there was another one.
Maybe City Hall?
Maybe City Hall, the new skin, and what that might mean with scaffolding and access. So Chimes and Lights, once again, has to be flexible, but we were looking forward to a large tree in front of City Hall. But we may have to move the actual performance ceremony out further to the street and into the parking lot, the boat launch parking lot. So there's quite a few things to be considering for the Chimes and Lights, but the community's pretty excited about it, and we're talking about different alternatives and different routes for Santa to take with the band. I think it's going to be just fine. And it brings people downtown to see what we're doing. So I think that's actually pretty exciting, because we can really be telling everyone, look at what's happening. And moving forward. So we're actually very excited about it, and that's the gist of it.
Are you looking at bringing back the run? You mentioned that, I think, at one of your last updates.
And it's not us. That would be a separate,
The South Kitsap Rotary Club is looking into that and.
Right, but that's got to dovetail with our,
Correct. It would need to.
right, but it's a separate thing, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't have an answer. Yeah.
right?
Right, we are to, is that it for chimes and lights?
That's it.
Okay. Land use, don't believe you met here recently.
Last met on July 19th. I don't have my notes, so I'm going to do a lot of this from memory.
Okay.
First discussion item was on Perry Avenue North. You recall that there were some concerns about traffic safety and emergency response access. There was a fair amount of people that were here in City Hall that were speaking about their concerns, and what we landed on is some signage with the idea that maybe there would be a education and outreach effort and perhaps a focused ticketing effort if that wasn't working. And with a last resort that to help people know where they're parking, looking at a fog line along the shoulder of the road. Public Works wasn't too keen on the fog line idea since it's not normally done for that kind of right-of-way and parking situation. But if it helps get people out of the right-of-way, it might be something that is considered. The next discussion item was on the multifamily tax exemption, and I think Nick pointed out that there's been a fair, not sizable, but perhaps a fair reduction in rental rates as a result, perhaps, of the volume of multifamily development. And so the question that was put to the group is, do we still want to use the MFTE program as it was once contemplated? And so that's going to come to the council for more discussion. And there's also an active request by an outfit or a project called Diaz Meadows, who, if I recall correctly, having the MFTE request approved will make it pencil out. They've got some, I think, some topographical concerns with the development of a multifamily project there. So more coming on that. And then the last item that we talked about was the right-of-way vacation request that we talked about earlier tonight behind the courthouse. Anything to add?
I would just add that the people on Perry seem to be suggesting that a lot of people parking in the wrong areas were not residents of Perry. So it was sort of segueing into a public safety type of issue, or that's what I seem to be hearing.
Squatters, yeah, squatters.
Yeah, people who don't live there who are selling and.
There's a house there that they're working through an eviction process. I know one of the neighbors there to the house. So hopefully they believe that's going to solve a lot of their problems. All right, so lodging tax?
Nothing yet.
Nothing to report yet. Sewer advisory? September 20th. Outside agencies. Housing Kitsap board meeting was today, and I'll talked at length after the meeting with the executive director and Dean Nail, the self-help manager. This house, this permanent supportive house, has gotten really complicated. And Nick and I and Charlie have been talking a lot about this. Our application is due on Thursday. And when Housing Kitsap sells those lots, they sell them to individuals that aren't government agencies, that don't have to comply with prevailing wages and public bid. So all of a sudden, this house has gone up between that and we're gonna need to go get course of construction insurance for $15,000. We've added more than $100,000 to our grant request because we're a government agency. Which is really disappointing, but we're continuing to charge forward, but this is a lot more complicated than I wish it was. I wish it wasn't so complicated, but it just is because we're a government agency. So anyway, I think we've got it all solved, or at least we have an idea how to enter. If we're successful in the grant, then we need to enter into an interlocal agreement with Housing Kitsap they will likely, for a fee, do our procurement and our prevailing wage documentation, because we don't build houses. We're not equipped to do it. We have a procurement person who's up to her eyeballs in our work. And So provided they have capacity, which this is more than a year away, that they want to help us with it. It's still a good project, but it's just more complicated than than I feel it needs to be, but it has to be, fortunately. So, you know, sometimes, you know, you guys vote, and you guys take votes on surplusing items. You know, in our past, we used to just take those to the local auction, and we didn't really get much for those items that when we surplused them. And Gretchen was sharing a spreadsheet with me the other day of the last 25 items that we put on. It's called Gov Deals. So she's got this website she puts all of our stuff on. We received $61,000 on this. Sometimes it's a $25 printer, and a lot of times it's cars that the book value's like $3,000, and we're getting $6,000 and $7,000 on this auction site for them. So recently sold a mower on it because we got a new mower, but I thought that was pretty cool that we've gotten a significant amount of money, $60,000. So I put a document on, and Janine's going to bring it up for the public's benefit. You know, we're moving forward with the City Hall reskin, and we're going to get new clock faces. And the architectural team at Rice Fergus Miller is actually recommending this. This would be the exact same hands that we have without the rings around the, if you looked at page 3 of the document, you would see our current clock face is O, which 3rd row down, 2nd one over. If you go down, that's our actual clock face. So 3rd row down, 2nd one over is our current clock face. And the numbers are kind of muted in those rings, and they're saying that it would probably look cleaner and better if we didn't have the rings. So I just didn't want to change the look of the clock tower at City Hall without having a conversation with you guys. Councilmember Clausen?
I know you're not asking for a vote, but I like what they're proposing. I think it's cleaner, it's easier to read, and traditional, I think.
That's it there. Cindy?
I agree. I think it's handsome.
Got to be handsome. Councilmember Diener?
Well, if this is an opportunity to reconsider what the clock face looks like altogether, I'd like to engage in that discussion. I think that's an old-fashioned look, and I think we've got people that are younger than us coming up behind us that might appreciate something a little more modern. And so, I mean, there's this other one that was circled in red, the hands CS, no numbers.
That's actually the first discussion we had with the consultant. Their initial recommendation was face N with those stick hands. That's what they're recommending for the hands, not for the clock face itself. They were actually recommending N and CS, and then I pushed back and said, well, I like the clock hands we have, so that's why it came back N and WS. But their first recommendation was N and then the less ornate hands.
Right, CS.
CS, that's the hands themselves.
Mayor,
Yes.
quick question. We're talking the face, but does that include the hands, or
The
can we
face,
reuse
we
the
can get any on this sheet, we can get any combination of face and hands.
Let me finish my question.
Okay?
Can we reuse the hands that we have
No,
on a new face?
Because it's LED.
we have, no, it's not LED anymore, and the technology we have is outdated and not good.
Well, the technology is what spins the hands, but can those hands bolt on to the new technology?
I don't think so. I'll ask the question. I don't believe so.
So, Mr. Mayor, I was actually asking, is this an opportunity to reconsider what this looks like altogether?
At this moment in time, because we have to order the clock face. They're starting the roof in a week.
Okay,
So if you have a different idea you want to propose, we can talk about it right here at this time.
well, like I mentioned earlier, the other one that's circled, I think it's
That's the hand, they're referencing the hands.
Oh, they're just referencing the hands, I see.
Yes,
Well,
they were recommending N, which is
I see.
what's on the front with not ornate hands.
Okay, well, I like the look of the non kind of Roman numeral
So
face.
you like Z is what you're saying,
Is that what it is? Yeah,
I have a
Z.
comment.
okay?
I think that looks like a kitchen clock, and I don't think it's sophisticated enough for the city. I understand that you want something a little more modern. I actually don't think that that would work well because it would be very hard to read. People don't have that much time going by the clock tower, and I think it would be almost a distraction from the street to figure out, is that between the 2 or the 3 or whatever? So I like the idea of the Roman numerals, and I'm going to push back on that.
Okay, what about,
No, just, I want to give Jay an opportunity
oh,
here.
sorry, Jim.
No, actually, I only have two comments. One is, I kind of like Back to the Future look, which is our current one, so I would go with the N. And the other thing that was eye-opening to me is when I found out that my grandchildren, who are 11 and 8, can't read a clock because everything's digital, so I'd almost sit out this one if it wasn't for the fact that we have to put something up on the city. So I like N.
Another benefit of N versus what we currently have is I mean, it's not the end of the earth, but it's $5,000 difference in cost because we have 4 clock faces. They're $1,300 a piece. So, Councilmember Chang?
Yeah, I would go completely the other way, which is first row, fourth one, all dots, or second row, first one, all sticks. Only because I think when you're driving by, you're not looking to see, is that V or IV or VI or VII? You're just looking for the position of the hands, and so I'd go even simpler.
Which one did you
He
prefer?
likes
Top right
this
corner.
one, that
Yeah,
one.
the all dots or all sticks.
Like 1, 2,
Yeah, no numbers, actually.
I see, okay.
Okay. We got 2 dissenting votes over here. Councilmember Ternair, we haven't heard from you on clocks.
No, I'm not so sure.
Are you going digital?
A little different than my watch. No, I kind of like the hands and the Roman numerals that we're seeing on face N. It does bring a little bit of sophistication to a tower clock, I guess, these days.
Clock tower.
Sure.
thank you.
Yeah.
One
Councilman.
comment, I've flipped back and forth over the last 5 minutes. It's kind of like our kids not being taught cursive anymore. They can't, read cursive, and they may not be able to read Roman numerals, but then it dawned on me, the reality is I don't know that anyone's really looking at the clock tower to figure out what time it is. We all have time anywhere, and I think to honor the past and the tradition of City Hall, I think it would make sense to clean it up a little bit, leave the hands and leave the Roman numerals is kind of what I've been.
Okay.
Are we honoring the past but not living in it?
Right, we are.
Touche.
There we
That's
are.
very good.
We are.
All right, I'm hearing at least 3, possibly a 4th, that with the N dial, which is the document on the front. Virginia, if you could slide back up to the very first page up there, that shows
Hawkins,
it.
WF, and dial.
And N hands, or N face.
It's the cleanest one.
It is clean. There she
That one.
is.
Yes.
That's,
I like that.
I believe the majority, unless you guys want a formal vote. And we- Okay.
I can count.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna move on then. We spent more time on the clock tower than anything else tonight.
okay.
So, let's see here. I've got really good news. I shared the email about the Marina Pump Station bids. That was outstanding news. You'll see that on your August 8th agenda to award that contract, and they'll get going on that. We opened bids today on well 11. We got 4 bids. The low bid being $6 million, the high bid being $7.5 million. The engineer's estimate was $6.4 million. So that won't make the August 8th meeting. Unfortunately, we have a number of things to confirm. The low bidder was responsive, is the term. So you'll see that the first meeting in September, and that project will be charging ahead. I am also required to report personnel policy changes, and as we continue, we're continually reviewing and updating job descriptions, and we updated the HR specialist and HR analyst job descriptions here in the last couple of weeks. And with that, that ends my mayor's report. And reports to the department heads. Interim Public Works Director Jackie Brown, what do you have to tell us?
Well, Mayor, you stole most of my thunder with the
Sorry,
bids.
I do that sometimes.
I can report, give a report on the totem pole. I spoke to the person who is refurbishing the totem pole last Friday and expect to get an email from him momentarily saying that it's ready to be picked up. And at that time, when we actually get it down here, we're going to store it for a few days until I can get organized ceremony with the Makah tribe and Mr. Martin, the refurbisher. So that should be coming up hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Will that ceremony include the council being present for its raising?
We would love to have you there.
You're certainly welcome. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
will
that'd
make
be
sure
great.
that you're all on the email invite.
Yeah.
Councilman Clausen?
I would, when we put it up originally, the council was invited, but I would ask Jackie if you could inquire to make sure we're familiar with the customs of the tribe, because at the original acceptance, whatever, it was apparently a custom that they present the council with, they gave us each $1. And it was more symbolic, obviously, than anything else. But I just want to make sure that we're familiar with their customs so that if there's something expected in exchange, that we're ready for it.
Thank you very much for that input, because I wouldn't have thought to do that, so.
If I, Mark shared this at Rotary today, what bench number was that, 8th?
Number 8.
Number 8. So this morning, the 8th memorial bench was installed for Don Dell, whose wife passed away here a few months back, and he's the president of the condo association at the Rockwell. And it's funny, Mark mentioned this at Rotary. If you've never met Don, I own a condo there, and Don is very much he rules with an iron fist up there. You don't mess around. You don't leave your, you don't put your recycling in the garbage. You're going to hear about it. And Don has a commanding voice. But if you meet the person, but he is not of large stature. And when Mark met him for the first time, he said, "Oh, man, this guy was a giant," and he is, but he's just not in stature. So, but I'm sorry about Don's wife, but I am thankful for that we have a memorial bench on our waterfront in memorial.
And Don was very thankful of Public Works for helping get that installed as well. Wanted me to pass that along.
Anything else? No.
Unless you have questions for me?
Debbie, what are you at?
I have no report tonight.
No report. Wow. Mr. Bond.
I emailed this already, but for the benefit of the public, the Cheers restaurant will be coming down next week. So they will start demolition and then start remediating soils, and they plan to pour foundations hopefully before the rains come.
Great. Ms. Archer.
Just very briefly, I know the council's been following the Grants Pass decision and the legal matter involving the city of Grants Pass and their members of their unhoused community. Just to update you, the city of Grants Pass on July 11th filed what's referred to as a motion for stay to hold the decision in abeyance to keep it from being enforced, while the city seeks certiorari or petitions to the U.S. Supreme Court for review of that decision. So we anticipate that the petition to the U.S. Supreme Court will come in the next, I believe they have 30 days to file, and I will continue to monitor that, and I am participating in amicus briefing on that case as well. So we'll continue to keep you abreast of where that case goes. So.
Ms. Floyd, what does the clerk's office have to tell us?
Just a couple quick things. So Brandy's actually attending the Association of Washington Cities RMSA retreat. I think it's the risk management. So she'll probably have some really good information at the next council meeting for you guys. Also with Chimes and Lights, we are accepting tree reservations for the planters. So it is first come, first serve. If anybody has any questions, let me know, but we have our application on the website. We are also accepting applications for the commemorative bricks and tiles that go in front of the police department and in front of the main entrances. And of course, information is on our website, and we've been posting it on social media, but we'll get it more out there. So anybody has any questions on that, let me know. And also, I just personally want to thank the mayor and staff for working with Brandy and I the last few months. We've had some absences due to various things between Brandy and I, so just thank you for your patience and everything while we work through that, and just really appreciate it. So that's what I have.
Jean continues to have her right arm, and she's right-handed in a sling, so she doesn't type as fast as she normally does. All right, anything from the back room from our intern to report? No? No? Got a thumbs down from her, so that means our meeting, anything for the good of the order. I guess we got another citizen comment. How could I miss that? We're to our second citizen comment period. We don't have anybody in the chambers. There's anybody online, Janine?
We have one person, but they have not raised their hand yet.
Okay, so if you wish to address the city council, now would be the time, and you use the raise your hand feature, and we would bring you into the meeting. Okay, and we'll close the second citizen comment period. And is there anything for the good of the order? Councilmember Dean?
Yes.
Councilmember Clausen? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask if we could have someone take a look at our chairs. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm kind of sitting on the floor.
This chair keeps going
And
down.
I have adjusted my seat all the way up twice during this meeting, and as I'm sitting here, it slowly goes down to the floor. So
We
if
will
we
look
could have
into
somebody.
chairs. So we
should rotate it.
we had a meeting in this back room the other day, and we made a decision to order 8 chairs for back there. So maybe those chairs will end up out here, and we'll order 8 more.
Whatever, this one needs to be looked at.
Yeah, well, there were some chairs back there I took to the dumpster. And
I got another one that could go there.
Yeah. I tend to be the one that takes them to the dumpster, so. We'll evaluate, I don't think all of them are bad, but some of them are.
This one, you want me to
Yeah.
mark it?
Just put it down there. What happens is the staff gets here before you guys, and it just
Oh,
goes
they
up.
shuffle them around? Is
Yeah,
that
they
it?
take the good chairs, rat them out. So, all right, anything else for the good of the order?
I just wanted to make sure we understood what our August meeting schedule was going to look like.
What, yeah, one meeting, August 8th,
August 8th, okay.
and then you, I don't have the September what? Somebody got 12th, sound right? So we, August 8th and September 12th, and the only thing that could derail, maybe we might have to have I don't even want to say it, but some sort of an emergency meeting because construction activity, then big change order or something, so. Councilmember Clausen?
I just confirm with the attorney, I think it takes 24-hour notice to cancel a meeting. Certainly takes 24 to host one, but
To cancel, no, you don't need to give 24 hours to cancel.
I would suggest that you leave the second meeting on the calendar and then cancel it.
You adopted a meeting schedule in January.
Oh, so I
Oh,
apologize.
no,
So,
there's no
yeah.
There are no meetings.
Right.
so-
There are no meetings, just
That goes along with, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, so thank you for reminding me.
Councilmember Rosapepe.
Yeah, I can't let the evening go without a couple of things. One is, this past weekend, we had, I'll probably get the name wrong, but they had the late night shopping on Friday night.
Night market.
The night market and the farmer's market the following day. Both were well-attended downtown, and kudos to our the folks running the businesses. It's very good. POPSA did a great job. Even though Nick sent out the message today about the Cheers coming down, I really feel that this is going to kick off the redevelopment because it's showing movement, and I'm very excited about it. I know a lot of people are.
Should we be there?
I'm tempted. And last but not least, in case you didn't hear, Helpline received $1.75 million grant for their new building that's going.
Wow,
So
that's huge.
There'll be more about that. I'm sure hopefully they'll come pitch to us about what their plans are. But that's very exciting for our community and the people that they support also. So thank you for indulging me.
What, if I may, Jay, what's the total need, though, for that?
Somewhere between 8 to 10 million. They haven't kicked off their campaign yet, but that certainly helps jumpstart it.
Definitely, at least get the design complete.
Yep.
Councilmember Clausen?
I just have to follow on with the event downtown on the waterfront was great. Unfortunately, one of our restaurants had a plumbing problem.
They
and had to
did.
shut down, but I'm glad we had other restaurants in downtown to fill the gap, so.
It's great.
Any other good of the orders? All right, Fred's contemplating. No? All right, meeting is adjourned.
It's early enough to.
Recording stopped.